The Every Given Saturday Tour is headed to Knoxville, Tennessee this Saturday. Second time we've been there this year. Do we like to double dip? Typically, no. Is it necessary sometimes? Absolutely. And when you've got the third Saturday in October finally living up to its reputation for the first time, kind of in this millennium, we got to be there, and we will be there. It's the 3:30 Eastern Time kickoff on CBS. You cannot write the history of SEC football without including a healthy chapter on the third Saturday in October rivalry. I already explained my feelings on this to you the other night. Go ask Pate to explain his feelings to you, because he's lived through this being the biggest rivalry in the SEC. It hasn't been in your lifetime, if you're 23, 33, but it has been in certain lifetimes. Many of you just don't know yet, but that's okay. In about 96 hours, you will know. Make sure you watch this game. Quarterback questions, paramount. I've got you an update on Bryce Young. I'm about to get to it in just a second. Two of the top 5 offenses in the country, at least statistically, will be on the field this Saturday. There was once upon a time that Collins' team there in Knoxville was led by one Lane Kiffin, and they dropped a game to Bama 12-10 in Tuscaloosa. Few truths. Many uncertainties this Saturday. I think we're going over 22 total points. So that's our first best bet. We love the over at 22.5. I think out of all these big games we've got this weekend, to me, this one's the most unpredictable. None of them are really predictable. This game reeks of unpredictability because of a couple of things that you just can't predict. No model, the best model out there in the world, cannot predict turnovers. And I want you to think about last week. Everybody watched Bama hosting A&M. Everybody watched A&M take Alabama right down to the wire. And I've seen some, what I consider to be pretty false and inflammatory statements about Alabama's defense after that game. And it's, A&M threw the ball all over Alabama. Well, they really didn't. But what happened was, Nick Saban talked about this Monday, when you were coming off turnovers, when Bama's defense, in other words, had sudden change and they were back out on the field, that's when A&M burned them, which counts the same as a standard drive. But my point is, if you have that much correlation between your subpar defensive production and drives immediately following turnovers, there's something to be said there. And if you tell me Bama's going to be clean in the turnover department Saturday, I feel a lot better about them defensively. Here's the problem. If you do go on the road and you do suffer turnovers, and you did last week even at home, there's no team in the world better equipped to take advantage of it than Tennessee. They're even more equipped than Texas A&M. The second thing is, we've seen it a number of times now, including that Texas game earlier this year, where penalties bit Alabama bad on the road. This will be the toughest environment anyone on that roster has ever played in. I feel pretty confident in saying that, even if they play in the SEC West and even if they're Bama. I don't think any place they've played will match the energy that you'll see in Neyland Stadium Saturday. So if you could predict those things for me, penalty yardage and whatnot, especially on third downs, if you could predict turnovers, I think we could give ourselves an edge here. You can't predict those things, so it's anyone's guess as to which way this goes. Here's what I got for you on Bryce Young. Let me clear my throat on this. There's a lot being said about the health status of Bryce Young right now that is not true. There is a lot floating around on various message boards about how he's good to go, 100%, ready to go Saturday, no problem throwing. That stuff's not true. It's not true at all. I don't have nearly the confidence in the status of Bryce Young right now that a lot of other people apparently do. It's just this foregone conclusion in the college football ecosystem. Bryce Young's going to play Saturday. If I had $1 and I had to bet whether we see Bryce Young Saturday, I'd probably take like 55 or 60 of those cents, I guess, and I would bet it on Bryce Young. I do not assume we're getting anything close to a 100% Bryce Young Saturday. So that's where I fall on that. Let me also tell you something else. You saw Jalen Milroe last Saturday. You may very well see him again this Saturday. You did not see Ty Simpson last Saturday. And Ty Simpson's a true freshman quarterback for Alabama. He's a 5-star kid. He's from the state of Tennessee. Would not shock me if you saw Ty Simpson Saturday as well. So just some things to keep in mind. The quarterback situation is not nearly as decided or nearly as clean-cut as a lot of the internet would lead you to believe. So what do we assume? I have no clue. For the sake of this preview video, I'm going to tell you, if they don't have Bryce ready to go, I do not think Alabama's beating Tennessee Saturday. So for the sake of this preview video, we are going to assume we get some form of Bryce Young. And then we're going to work off of that. Okay, if Tennessee does not have to account for the power, well, let me rephrase. Okay, I think it's a lot about balance. So whether you get 60, 70, 80, whatever percentage of Bryce Young, I never really understood what that meant because I don't know how you quantifiably break that down into performance. But if we get Bryce Young Saturday, but Tennessee does not have to respect the illusion of balance, then it doesn't really matter that we've got Bryce Young on the field Saturday. And what I mean by that is there's a very sneaky statistic that could matter a whole heck of a lot this Saturday. And it's that Tennessee has the 7th best run defense in college football right now. I don't think a lot of people are aware of that. Now, here's where that may not matter as much, because Bama runs the rock as well as anyone in the country. But they will best thrive running the ball if Tennessee has to respect offensive balance. I don't mean running it 30 times and throwing it 30 times. I don't mean 300 passing yards, 300 rushing yards. What I do mean is the ability to convince them you're able to throw the ball on any down. That's always been the way we on this show define offensive balance. And if we do get Bryce Young and we get in the game and he's made some throws that you're accustomed to seeing Bryce Young make, okay, then it's game on. Bama can hang 50 on Tennessee if they're able to do that because their offense is that good if they do possess that balance. And Tennessee's that susceptible on the back end if they're able to possess that balance. But if they don't have that ability, then you quickly, I'm not going to say you throw the total crowbar in the bicycle spokes. Bama can still score, but it will be greatly off the pace that you would expect if you had a healthy Bryce Young. So that's the first thing that I'm watching, even if we get him Saturday. That's the first thing I'm watching. The second thing that you need to understand, because it sounds like I'm a little doom and gloomy with Alabama right now, no, I'm being realistic with him. But on the flip side of this coin, there's a scenario where Bama just runs away with this game, and here's how it would happen. Firstly, at least in my humble opinion, you do need to have Bryce Young for that to happen. The second thing is everything we know about Tennessee, all the numbers that have been baked into any projections and every play you've seen this year and final score that's baked into your mind that formulates your opinion on Tennessee, you know what it's all included? It's included interception-free football from Hendon Hooker. And that's great. That is absolutely what you want to dial up. The problem there is sometimes in college football seasons when you get these teams, USC is one of them too, when you get these teams that get further and further into the season and all of their results are predicated on turnover-free football, there comes that week. You know what that week is. Normally that week's when you have to face the kind of pass rush Alabama's going to bring at you, and they just disrupt. They make you go a little bit faster to avoid it, and that in and of itself is affecting the quarterback. Bama had close to 20 quarterback hurries last week, and I assume that they will be able to do the same sorts of things this Saturday. If we see turnovers all of a sudden become the issue they haven't been all year, and that were to coincide with Alabama having that offensive balance, Alabama could totally run away from Tennessee. There is a result in the bag out of the 100 simulations of this game that sees Alabama do that because they're able to couple the defensive performance we saw the other night and the capability to force turnovers and hurry the quarterback with a good offensive performance in their own right. That could happen. We're not here to play what could happen. We do these videos on what's most likely to happen. So I'm thinking back earlier this year, and there's not anything that we're going to see Saturday necessarily that we can't envision. We've seen Bama go on the road already this year, and we've seen him struggle, albeit in a win, but we've seen him struggle at Texas. So we've seen him in these kind of environments before. We've seen Alabama in 3 different games already this year where it's a one-possession affair in the fourth quarter. That was the case at Texas. That was the case at Arkansas before they pulled away. And it was the case last week. So there is precedent for Bama being pushed well into the fourth quarter. They hadn't lost yet, but we've seen it. It's, I think, like I said before, clearly going to be, to me, the most hostile environment they've been in this year. And I was at that Texas game. I don't think anything's going to match what Tennessee folks throw at them Saturday. And thirdly, we've seen in the past what it usually takes to beat them. And what it usually takes to beat them is not running the ball. What it takes to beat them is precision passing. They're going to play one team this year more equipped than anyone else to pull that off, and that's the team they're playing this Saturday. So I want to take a look at what the model thinks, and I'm going to remind you what the current Vegas number is. I was going back and forth with Budrick Elliott today, and we were kind of arguing back and forth about what we think about this number. Tennessee is a 7.5-point dog right now. So Bama minus 7.5 is the number. Now, there are 2 schools of thought out there. One school of thought is Vegas would never give you 7.5 points if they thought Jalen Milroe was playing, so this must be accounting for them knowing Bryce Young's playing. I can't state this any clearer for you guys. And Bud didn't say that. I'm saying some people are saying this. Odds makers have no clue who's playing quarterback for Alabama Saturday. I know that because they don't know who's playing quarterback for them. I know it's fun when you're sitting around with your buddies to look at a number on a screen and say, Vegas must know something. And it sort of mythologically builds up what odds makers do. They don't know. They're smart in the number they hang. They don't know who's starting at quarterback, okay? So you can decipher exactly that much from that number. My opinion is they've split the difference, and that thing would crater to 3 or maybe less if Milroe was announced as a starter, and I think it would get jacked up to about 10 or 11 if Bryce were announced as a starter. That's where I think we're going. So there is very little chance that 7.5 is on the board this Saturday, and the reason I'm looking over here is because that's where my huge monitor is. Colin puts one right in front of me, but for some reason I irresponsibly look over there. That's where I think we are right now. So the model is kind of doing the same thing, only the model playing the difference is a little bit lower than the Vegas number. We've got Bama -5. I think the time just feels right for Tennessee. I think the environment feels right. I hesitate to even put it this way. When Alabama won last week, it removed this game as being a must-win for anyone. And so it doesn't change the effort. What I'm saying is when I look at the game, I think Tennessee's going to cover. I think Tennessee's going to end up winning outright, regardless of what happens at quarterback. I think they're going to win outright. I think they're peaking at the right time. They're playing the best ball they played under Heupel. They're clearly playing their best ball this year. Alabama is not. And I don't think that they're poised to do that this Saturday. As I make that prediction, let me reiterate what I told you Sunday night. There is coming a time, I think, down the road, a few weeks, where Bama does end up playing their best ball. When that happens, I think they'll be the best team in the country. I don't think they're the best team in the country right now. I don't think they'll be the best team come Saturday evening because I think that they will go down. So I'm going to take Tennessee to win the game. If I'm right, we may not get out of Knoxville until like Monday morning. Also, if I'm right, that'll be the first time in 16 years, first time since 2006 that Tennessee will have won. Did they? Jesse, could you do me a favor and check when the first iPhone came out? George W. Bush was the president in 2006. There's so much that's changed since 2006. So, I didn't even know Jesse and Colin in 2006. That's how long ago that was. 2007 was the first iPhone. Okay, so Alabama's streak over Tennessee has run the length of the iPhone. And by the way, they just came out with the iPhone 14. That's where we are in this rivalry right now. And kids, that's why you don't know a whole heck of a lot about this rivalry. I think it'll change Saturday. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure to leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.